Hello, and thank you for joining us today. We've got an exciting session to talk to you about how Veeam is more. You may have heard about Veeam in the past. Maybe Veeam is new to you. Maybe you've heard some things about what Veeam does. Maybe you've heard things about what Veeam doesn't. But I'm here to tell you there's a lot of misconceptions out there. And today we're going to set the record straight. My name is Billy Cashwell. I'm a director with product marketing here at Veeam, specifically on Veeam Data Platform. And I'm joined today by the always exciting and illustrious Rickatron. Rick Vanover, take it away. Give us a quick introduction.
Well, thanks, Billy. A big welcome, everyone, here to the VeeamON virtual experience. I'm Rick Vanover, as Billy said. I'm in my 15th year at Veeam here. As you can see behind me, I'm the resident historian. And I think this is a really exciting and actually very important topic to go through. So, Billy, let's walk through the time that we're going to spend with everyone here today.
Thanks, Rick. It's a really exciting agenda that we've got for you guys today. Number one, we're going to start at the beginning. It all starts with backup. And then along came ransomware, one of the biggest challenges we've seen to your best line of defense. Why change? We've seen so much in the news and the market this year that is driving immense change, especially in the virtualization area. Hybrid and multi cloud is top and front and center of everyone's minds right now. And there's always that executive perspective. What are we saying to you that resonates to help you understand that Veeam is the right business partner for you? Veeam is the right bet for you to make. And then Rick's going to take us through some resources to learn even more as we close out here at VeeamON this week. Rick, let's kick it off and talk about where it all started. It started at the beginning, as most stories do, and it all started with backup. And Rick, I've been doing this for over 30 years. I hate to date myself. You can see it in the beard a little bit, the age that comes with all this backup knowledge. But in the beginning, it was all about getting that backup done, getting it complete within the window, making sure it completed without any errors. But Rick, at the end of the day, what's it all about? Is it about backup or is it about something else?
Well, it's about recovery. Let's keep it in the primitives, and we'll tell everyone more about it. And 30 years is incredible, Billy. I know you have experience across the industry of this particular industry. And while, like myself, I'm in my 15th year here at Veeam, my career prior, I fell in love with backup as a user because I simply didn't want to lose time. I didn't want to have to rework things. I wanted to keep stakeholders happy. I wanted to keep my job, real primitive and kind of important things like that. But I think every one of us here understands that there's a need for this. And we've got data that tells us this. We have, moments and incidents throughout our careers that really bring it home. But I think that today, when we look at from the start till now, there's really an outcome of business continuity and some really important perspectives that I think we all need to embrace.
I couldn't agree more. So let's kind of take it from the top here. Number one, the perspective we want you to leave with today is that Veeam is business continuity. Again, the theme of this is Veeam is more. And like we said, it started with backups, it ends with recovery. But what matters is that your business keeps going. Whatever you do to build it, that keeps continuing. So we begin with the more you know. Rick, tell us about perception and how things matter, such as keeping up to date. What are some of the challenges? How are customers attacking these today when it comes to business continuity and recovery?
Well, it's really simply just having awareness of the services and the platforms that people have. The one resource we really can't solve for is time. And so,
Yes.
ways to use that more efficiently for our audience is to have a comprehensive platform of Veeam products that will protect everything across the IT estate. And so the thought here is keeping up to date, keeping everything protected at the same level and at the same quality of protection really kind of hedges off a big challenge. We don't want to be in the business, if I put myself back, as an IT admin, I mean, 6 backup products. That's just not a sustainable
No,
practice at all.
not at all. And I like how you talk about there's multiple tools that you're using, there's multiple types of data that you're protecting. And you kind of got into standardization a little bit. I think security is the great equalizer there, even to the point that immutable is the new cool. Tell us about that.
Well, I've been in meetings where individuals have asked me, is that even a word? And I'm like, well, yes. And it's a word we should really lock into, understand, align, and commit to, that this is something we need to have. And, the thought here is if you're watching this right now, whether you're with Veeam or thinking about Veeam, if you don't have one or more copies of your backup data on an immutable target or some other form of ultra resilient media, immutable is by far the most popular and consumed. Tape people might disagree, but anyways, the
Tape
thought
is naturally
it,
immutable,
it
right? I
can
mean,
be,
I put
can
tape
be
in my car, my pocket. No one even knows where it is. Natural immutability at its best.
indeed. Different show, but the thought here is that having an immutable copy of your backup data is an absolute default that you must have. I'll go one step further. If you do not have something that's offline, air gapped, or immutable, or requires four eyes authorization to access, those are my personal four criteria for an ultra
Mhm.
resilient media. If you don't have one of those, that is a plausible emergency for your organization based on the current conditions and threats and more. And we'll talk about that here in a second. But this is an absolute table stake. The great news is that there are several. There's over 60 immutable object storage options with Veeam, tape, hardware platforms, four eyes authorization, media, offline storages. We can do all of that with Veeam. So you're in the right place, but I just really want to highlight that today this is a very important matter.
Absolutely. And it's interesting that not only do you need to protect your data, that's the whole idea behind backup, but you've got to protect those backups. And we keep saying the word backup here. And Rick, we've added one of your favorite sayings that I love here at Veeam onto this slide. Take us through that there at the end and close it out.
Well, the backup is a means to an end, and the end is recovery. And I'll admit it, Billy, I'm full of one liners. I have fun with that, but this is really serious. Being able to recover data. So, backup for show, recover for dough is one of those one liners I like to roll out. But I have my own stories of things where I've saved the business or I used to be in a professional services role. I've
Sure.
saved my customer. When I say save the customer, I'm talking about like critical infrastructure in countries around the world type of thing. It can really make a positive difference. And when you think about the threats that are out there, this is really important. And so, again, you're in the right place. You're hearing about Veeam, and your journey through VeeamON will cover all different parts of our portfolio. And when you think about why we want to do this, sometimes you don't even know what type of disaster will arise or come upon your plate. But knowledge of a solid portfolio of products and services that can get you out of those problems, again, you're in the right place.
Absolutely. And Rick, I think that's a great segue as we go to the next slide here. You talk about the threats that could happen. Well, I think there's only almost a constant in today's day and age. When it comes to cyber attack through malware, most notably ransomware, it's not a matter of when or if you get attacked, it's a matter of when you get attacked. That has really become a constant. And when you think about backups, your insurance policy here. Some say that backups are your last line of defense. We at Veeam like to say backups are your best line of defense. And this is the number one thing that cyber criminals are after. If they can break in, they can encrypt your backups, then it's almost guaranteeing you to pay the ransom. So, Rick, as we get into the next slide, let's think about some of the perspectives around how to be cyber resilient in this day and age. Any thoughts on that?
Well, I would say that the current threatscape, ransomware being the front runner there, has made backup strategies, data protection, these broader resiliency processes, which are fed by products, right?
Mhm.
But I would say that these have made this industry much more relevant. We have seats at the table, and we're able to have business aligned conversations around organizations being prepared to get out of these types of problems. I'll be the first to admit, Billy's got the gray beard, I've got the no hair, but I grew up preparing for fire, flood, and blood type
That's
scenarios.
it.
But this area is by the numbers the disaster I'm most likely going to encounter in an IT career. And I think we have to, we're going to talk about real quickly here 3 Veeam capabilities to help get industries and customers prepared for this set of circumstances. And the one thing I'll kind of set up with, Billy,
Hmm.
is everything that people do left of the bang will 100% predicate what they do to the right of the bang.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that bang being that moment of breach, that incident that has occurred that's been identified. And you talk about the bang, Rick. I think one of the interesting things, you even mentioned that this kind of brings backup and recovery back to the forefront. These cyber attackers, to me, have actually strengthened companies in the way that for the first time, you're bringing security personnel and IT personnel together. It's an amazing catalyst that's bringing them together to fight a common problem. And it's interesting because Veeam sits right there at the nexus of this. So when we talk about Veeam sitting at the nexus, and I like to think that Veeam is a catalyst that's bringing these two teams together. What are some of the capabilities that we're employing today to really help deliver on that message and that sentiment?
Well, I think the capabilities are also a product of our position, right? From the reports towards the end of 24 and early parts of 25, Veeam was the number one market share leader in the backup space.
Hmm.
So it's reasonable to expect that we have been through some really interesting scenarios with our customers. And if you also think about the acquisition of Coveware last year, bringing in-house expertise in the space,
Absolutely.
we've seen some things. So with that market share, with that perspective, you know, this is feeding our product strategy, our innovations, our enhancements, our processes, and even the way our company is structured. Number one thing I want to highlight, which is of interest, and if you're not using it, look into that, is the AI powered malware detection that runs inline for a Veeam data platform. Now, this is actually the only one in the market that looks over the wire for this to happen. There's no send to the cloud, chew on it later. This is really, really cool. And this, in fact, personal plug, sorry to do this, Billy, but in the community hub recap that I do every week, I will report to people when KB 4514 changes, and I've memorized that number so that you can see some of the enhancements that this logic will take continuously. So I think having that very highly calibrated detection over the wire when that data first comes into backups by Veeam, and by the way, that includes for incrementals, which is
Hmm.
pretty
That's
much
right.
in the rocket science department in a way. That's a really good way to kind of have a really good pulse on the data that's being protected by Veeam.
And, as you're saying, I mean, let's be honest, we're not a primary security company. We are a data resilience company. But as things have changed with cyber criminals and the sophistication of attacks and just the sheer volume of attacks, I like how you're talking about it that we are going to be yet another set of eyes, another person on your team helping to look at not primary data, but actually that backup data and making sure that stays safe. And Rick, just on the previous slide, we were talking about it's all about recovery. And if that recovery is not secure, you're going to risk reinfection. And when you reinfect through recovery, you start the entire process again. You start at the bang again almost, right? So, Rick, Data Labs has been something near and dear to your heart and to Veeam. Tell us about that real quick.
Yeah, in fact, data labs and then the one point we're going to talk about next are actually specifically the reasons why I joined Veeam in 2010. And I would say that the recovery, the process to get out of these types of problems, you need every asset at your disposal, every resource, every process, every tool. And I'd go one step further. In Veeam's role in the cyber resilience strategy has an incredible advantage of air cover across the estate. And then on top of that, in medical terms, you could almost equate it to being sometimes a second opinion in the
Totally.
thought of Veeam has tooling for detection, but there should be something on the primary estate doing it as well. And this is additional tooling. And so the thought here is, and I have an example, find me at VeeamON or hit me up on the private. I'll tell you about some really interesting things where Veeam caught things that primary security tools did not. Okay. So that is a real thing today. But secure restore, back to script, Rick, back to script.
It's
Uh,
okay.
but secure restore is one of those capabilities that when you're in one of those moments, how are we going to get out of this problem? Secure Restore, and now powered by Veeam Threat Hunter, has a very optimized way to ensure that data being recovered will not reintroduce these threats. I mean, that's an incredible level of comfort to have, right? So, and data labs running systems in an isolated environment for additional checks as well. This is really differentiating capability. It's been in the market for 15 years, so it's really powerful stuff. And walking right into number 3,
Mm-hmm.
instant recovery with no prescribed hardware platform requirements is absolutely a game changer as well. And for those of you new to Veeam, please note, we didn't call it mass instant VM recovery. It's mass instant recovery.
That is
It,
correct.
it works now for file shares. It works now for enterprise applications like SQL and Oracle. It works for physical systems to be instantly recovered as a virtual machine. It works for several virtual platforms as well. And so when you think about ways to get out of a problem, and we QA this in the hundreds of systems concurrently with no prescribed different disks or things like that, this is a very important set of capabilities to keep in a resilience playbook.
Absolutely. And, I think about that kind of makes me that draws some lines for me, Rick, to budgetary challenges. We look this world over the past year, people have seen rapid shifts in costs of some of the systems and technologies they use, FX challenges globally, recessions. There's been all sorts of crazy things going on. And when you talk about these things, it leads me to the topic of change. So let's go into the next section. I think it's a fantastic segue. Change is constant, Rick. It is the one thing that is guaranteed in this world is change beyond death and taxes. Change is a constant. And future proofing is always going to be in style. I think now more than ever, when you consider, Rick, even when you talked about the data labs and how it had been around since 2010, I could argue now that with all the cyber attacks, that's never been more valuable than ever, right? That's really something that's going on. But when we talk about change, I don't want to beat around the bush here. A lot of the virtualization platform that much of this world uses had some changes with licensing and really made many of you think, am I staying on the current hypervisor platform that I'm on? Am I going to shift to a different one? Am I going to go hyper converged? Or, Rick, is it finally time for me to go to the cloud? I would say this past year, 2024, and on into this year, 2025, are probably some of the largest movements of cloud that we've ever seen before. So let's talk about why change, and then let's talk about how Veeam really thinks and approaches the hybrid multi-cloud.
Yeah, and I think, just to really work the visuals, there's a reason why one of these are blue and one of these are green.
That's correct.
Organizations are thinking about different platforms right now. And, I think even our own telemetry tells us that the consumption balances across platforms is changing. And, it's not one of those things that's a hard pivot, but for the customers that are pivoting, and some of them are, there is an absolute need for portability. And I'll go one step further, Billy, and I'll say sometimes you want to change a platform and sometimes you have to change a platform. Now,
Absolutely.
I'll go so far as to say 2016, as a resident historian, I believe, was the first year we introduced a platform conversion type of offering, which was going direct restore to Azure. Okay, so it was image-based backups to Azure. And that was very relevant then. Like, hey, I lost my whole site,
Mhm.
but I don't have a DR site. I can go to Azure. Or in actually 2020 and 2021, there was some stress in the supply chain. Sometimes you want to, sometimes you have to. Like,
Right.
it's going to be a week before I can get that replacement for the SAN controller and things like that. Well, that's a problem. Things
Mhm.
like that. So given that this is well iterated technology, I think that this portability story, whether it's the current conditions of platforms, the example of supply chain, the prior example of I don't have a DR site. Sometimes you want to, sometimes you need to. I think it kind of resonates on current conditions quite well.
Completely. And I like how Veeam has really chosen this term data portability. Rick, when you hear the word portability, what does that say to you? What I don't mean to say what emotions does, that does that evoke in you, but what are the connotations that come out when you hear data portability?
Well, it kind of hits to some central phrases and strategies that here at Veeam we've used for a long time. One that comes to mind is hardware agnostic, platform agnostic, cloud agnostic, anything agnostic. So the fact that Veeam will find customers where they are and give them that resilience experience with those other examples of scenarios where people do want to change platforms. Once people get their head around this technology, this can absolutely be one of those, you know, really validating moments for Veeam for an organization's IT practice. So I think it's very almost personal.
No, I like how you end on that, about it being very personal because people are having to make really strong decisions right now. And Rick, you keep talking about platform support. Veeam's just for VMware, right?
Oh, Billy, have you seen Veeam lately? Come on. All right, again, resident historian here. In 2011, we introduced Hyper-V support. VeeamON 2014, so 11 VeeamONs ago, actually 10 because we didn't do one in 2016, and that's only something that I would know. But anyways, VeeamON 2014, the very first VeeamON, we brought out the agent for Windows. We called it Endpoint at the time, and that was just the start, right? I wish I had like a cascading, list of
We'll have
platforms.
to make one. We
We'll
need a
we'll
graphic for
get
this.
one
Done.
because, like, the Linux agent came after that, and then let's see, then M365 going
So
sideways to
hardware, then SaaS, right?
yeah, and then the other hypervisors like Nutanix and Red Hat, and then 2019 the clouds came in, ding ding ding, 1 2 3. So yeah, there's a lot more that we protect than just VMware or Hyper-V virtual machines.
Absolutely. And, I think over this past year, the interest that we've seen come up in obviously the cloud, obviously Nutanix has been a big interest. Hyper-V and Azure has been just gangbusters, especially with Azure Local and even Proxmox. We've seen a lot of small businesses ask for that, and we made sure that we were first to market to support that one. But again, I mentioned that going to the cloud is probably one of the most, or I would say this change over the past year and this year is the single largest thing to move people to the cloud. What do you think about that? And then how important is it going to be to have a seamless migration as you transition to a more modern architecture?
So I want to go to something that Anton Gostev told me a long time ago. This actually was in 2011 when we first introduced Hyper-V support. The the gateway technology to make us, like, have this flower bloom in terms of data sources we protect. The gateway technology to that was our backup file type, the
Mm-hmm.
VBK. That portable data format, he told me, I remember it distinctly. He said the only difference is the source because the target goes into the same. And now this is 14 years ago. I literally remember the chat he sent me around that, and that paved the way for broader things that we're doing in Veeam Data Platform now with technologies like platform services that let other things talk to Veeam. And the thought here, that paves the way for these portability discussions. That was probably one of the best architectural things that this product set as it started has ever done, because it paved the way for these other things. And I'll go one step further. Different data sources have different intricacies. Like Microsoft 365 does something a little bit different. But what I think is really important for our portfolio is that if you look at the installable software you can use in Veeam Data Platform, and then if you look like some of the consumable stuff you can use in Veeam Data Cloud,
Yeah.
it's powered by the other side. It's not a whole different backup type. Now there's an interface and a display that's different. This is really proven technology, and kind of the end game is bullet point 4,
Mm-hmm.
everything to everything conversions made easy. So thinking about physical to virtual, virtual to cloud, cloud to virtual. I had a customer yesterday, Billy, asked me to do that. Those are on the truck things today with our platform. And when I think about why people want to do that, change is hard. It can be, but it doesn't
It,
have to be, you
it
know?
can be, but it's necessary and it's guaranteed. And Rick, I like how you close that out, everything to everything. So what I'm hearing from you is that Veeam is a migration experience and you don't need multiple other tools to help you migrate.
Right. And wherever you're going to be, hybrid cloud, multi cloud, on prem only, in cloud only, in SaaS only, Veeam has an answer for every persona today.
Correct. And the persona is what's key. All the personas are all the cool kids, and all the cool kids are using Veeam. And
I,
that's why we're happy to talk about our hybrid and multi-cloud support, because like I said, Rick, this is the future. This is where it's going. This is, you hear terms, we like to talk about migrate and modernize. Well, a lot of the modernization is happening in the cloud. That is our newest virtualization platform, if you will, that has everything from compute to storage to scale and everything built in between. So, what do you want to kick off on this one, Rick?
well, I say jokingly, all the cool kids use Veeam, but it's really important to know where Veeam is right now. And this is a view of our portfolio. Our portfolio is really composed of two very distinct sets of offerings. One is Veeam Data Platform, self-managed, installable software on-prem, the traditional sense, how people got to know Veeam the first time. And
Absolutely.
then Veeam Data Cloud has been on offer since late 2023 and fully branded in early 24 for as a service. And as part of the news kit here at the VeeamON event, you'll see more information about that. Started with Microsoft 365 and Azure. We
Mm-hmm.
added the Veeam Data Cloud Vault and watch the general sessions for more information about that. And but then that resiliency conversation that we spoke about, Billy, and by the way, these are not all the workloads we support. 7 hypervisors, 5 physical agents, several enterprise apps. There's there's very little things that Veeam
If you can
doesn't.
think about it and you have it, we
Yeah,
probably support it. That's a
indeed.
safe statement at this time point in time.
But that resilience is anchored right in the center with the Veeam Cyber Secure program
Mhm.
that I think organizations really need to understand that is that top level offering from us to keep data safe. And it comes with assessments, it comes with workshop drills, it comes with a warranty, it comes with incident response retainer. That's a
Mhm.
very comprehensive offering, which is also featured very heavily throughout the VeeamON experience.
That's correct.
So yeah, I love the portfolio with the different services we protect. And I'll be transparent, Billy. This is kind of the overall view, but it's right now growing to have more services on offer, but there's a lot more capabilities on the truck with Veeam Data Platform. You're going to see more with Veeam Data Cloud as part of our VeeamON news here. And then Veeam Data Cloud Vault, center to it all. Again, I started this conversation with immutability. If you don't have some sort of immutable copy, it's a plausible emergency.
That's
Veeam Data
correct.
Cloud Vault can solve that today for you. So that's really exciting.
Absolutely. And Vault is that one common piece between the two different platforms that we offer. And, I could also say it is a catalyst to get you your data from one to the other as you begin using both of these as well. Again, data portability is key. Rick said it earlier that it's engineered. So many products and companies out there say built for something, built for this or built for that. We were actually engineered to be portable from the get-go. And when we talk about Vault, that's taking your cloud and allowing you, or taking your backups that you wish to store in the cloud and making sure that they stay secure. Because again, they're your best line, not your last line, your best line of defense to recover from any type of cyber attack. And it's just made simple. It's built into VDP, it's built into VDC. You can configure it all from there and begin using it. And at any time you decided, Rick, you want to move to the cloud or start putting your backups there, It's already there as part of Vault. You just need to choose where you want to tap in.
Love it. Nothing but opportunity here as well with Vault and what we can do. But Billy, help me out. How would I go talk to my boss about all this great stuff that Veeam is today?
Well, one thing to know about, and when we talk about the boss, we're really talking about CIOs and CISOs. This is something they're thinking about all the time. And it's really, what is the actual business impact? What is the impact to my business? If I'm out there building boats, how does this affect my ability to build boats? That's how I make money. And that's what executives are focused on. So, to you executives out there listening today, thank you. Welcome to VeeamON. And if this is your first time spending time with us at Veeam, how lucky you are to get Rick and myself as your first people to spend time with. But in all seriousness, you have to know, what is a safe bet? Why do companies choose Veeam? Rick, let me go through a couple, then I'll ask you to take us home here. So, first and foremost, Veeam is deployed worldwide, especially if we go look at VMware. We made some little couple of jokes about that earlier. No one beats us there. We have more installations than ever. We've been successfully implemented and audited in every use case and every regulatory scenario. Because, Rick, we know governance, risk, and compliance for the enterprise and for executives, those are three little letters that mean quite a bit. There's something you have to guard. And if you're not doing a great job with it, it could lead to fines or even things like jail time. So governance, risk, and compliance are some of the three scariest letters that we've got out there. And Veeam is someone that can actually help you deliver on those, not just protect your data. And Rick, the second item here is that when we talk about recovery, we constantly use the term instant. There is no faster than instant. Our platform offers the fastest recovery options in the industry, tested and proven, and we want you to test and prove that to yourself. Rick, take us through the next two.
Yeah, so before I do that, I just want to highlight that number one, that speaks also to the flexibility of Veeam products. That
Absolutely.
is, another angle of that agnosticism that'll really help organizations in really any scenario. We're deployed on all continents, including Antarctica. We're deployed on submarines, ships, and we're working on the space station. We'll go from that. But number three, the most ultra resilient options. There's my word. You know, immutable, offline, air gapped, or something that requires four eyes authorization. The sponsors here at VeeamON, almost all of them are in that area, right? So many options, over 60 immutable object storages. Nobody has more options here. Again, that agnosticism. And then number four, the platform is real. The portfolio is real. There, like I said, I spend my day talking to customers and partners almost every day in some amount. And there's very few things that we say no to now. Now, there are a few obsolete operating systems and database types that honestly, they've got a bigger problem than backup. I hate to say it with those types of
Sure.
things. But very few things that we say, that we say no to now. And that's a very different position. When I first started at Veeam in 2010, it was just virtual machines of one hypervisor. Now, we're ready for anything. Love it.
No, it absolutely runs the gamut on what we support. And if you don't see it now, rest assured that it's coming very soon. And Rick, I think Veeam, one of Veeam's claims to fame and one of the gems in the crown, if you will, is the community. Just the ability to speak with the community and speak with Veeam product managers firsthand. You mentioned Anton Gostev, our chief product officer and the father of Veeam backup and replication, and one of the first people here at Veeam. He's constantly out on those forums, listening to customers, taking in that information, figuring out what are the next things that we need to support. So you're not just joining or picking up a product to solve a problem. You're actually joining a fanatical community of Veeamers that absolutely love this product because it's done something for each and every one of them. So, Rick, on that note, let's transition and talk about how the viewers can learn more, how any prospects out there, customers out there can take advantage of the resources and that community that I just mentioned.
Yeah, the short story here, Billy, is everything starts at veeam.com. Again, with my one-liners. But let me walk everyone through the rest of the not just Veeam experience, but the VeeamON experience. First of all, A lot of times I like to say, don't take my word for it, take your word for it.
Try it
And we
yourself.
try it yourself. Exactly. You can go to veeam.com, download a trial of any of the Veeam data platform products really easily on your own. Now, it's also important to learn more about the Veeam portfolio. So let me walk you through a couple of different things. Number one, there are clickable demos for Veeam Data Cloud. That's a very important strategic part of our portfolio right now, right online. It functions a little bit different than the trials, but you get a really good sense of the outcome of Veeam Data Cloud parts of our portfolio, which the best thing I'm going to say to both decision makers and IT admins is look, your change control windows of doing updates and maintaining that infrastructure and sizing it for the cloud, guess what? You don't have to do that. That's time back to you. That should catch your attention. Check out Veeam Data Cloud. Then the other thing I want to highlight is that from the San Diego event in 2025, the VeeamON event, we're going to have some of the super sessions available a couple weeks later on this very same virtual platform that you're watching us now. So don't go too far. I'm sure they're going to send an email. And then, as Billy said, the community.veeam.com, an award-winning community in business to business benchmarks. Check it out. And two things on there. One, the news recap that we do every week. And then secondly, there's a questions section. You will get an answer in a very,
Absolutely.
very quick amount of time. And I kind of joke that it's really quick. I'm just going to say, I'm not going to say the joke. I might get in trouble. And then the last thing I'll draw your attention to with QR code is the hands-on labs. Another great way that you can online on your own time, outside of VeeamON even, experience the Veeam products in your own kind of way. Check out the HOL with that QR code. Billy, thank you so much for joining me here on the VeeamON online experience.
Thank you for having me today. It is always an exciting moment to be able to talk to our customers, both existing and future customers. We love you all. It's great to be able to reach out. And as always, thank you for making Veeam your choice. Rick,
Indeed. Indeed. Thanks everyone for watching. That concludes our stream today. Enjoy the rest of VeeamON.
see you at VeeamON.